Right, okay. Thought I'd do a video today on the movie V For Vendetta. Um, I've recently watched this because I hadn't watched it for a long time, so I decided to put it on and just thought I'd do a video on it. Come out in 2005, and if you haven't watched this film, it's worth looking at it. It was originally based off of a comic, although I don't think it completely followed the source material. I think there are differences, but it's a good film, and it's fairly long. I can't remember the exact running time, but I'm sure it's over 2 hours. But it's a good story, and it also kind of plays into our current situation. Obviously, we're in lockdown to a certain extent. We're relying on the government, and you could say, I suppose, in a lot of ways, we're kind of being controlled at the moment. We get why we are, obviously, but yeah. So if you watch this, if you get a chance, watch this film. It does make you question things at times. So yeah, so we get into the plot anyway. So the main character V, played by Hugo Weaving, he's an activist. Some say terrorist, others say hero. He comes to the aid of the people. He's seen the injustice. He's well educated. He's a skilled fighter, and has been abused by the current regime in London. So he sets a series of actions in motion to open everyone's eyes to the corruption, the control that they have, and unites people against the fascist regime. So basically, it's kind of set, when it came out, it was kind of set present day, maybe a little bit in the future. Um, and it's meant to be when there's no monarchy anymore and the government sort of took over. You've now got a chancellor in charge, and and the whole thing's kind of painted in a way that the British government's become fascist, if you like. I'm not going to give too much of the plot away because, like I say, you should watch this. And obviously, if I give too much away, there's no point in watching it. Um, so one of the lines that sticks with me, and this is probably one of my favourite quotes from this film. Actually, there's a part where he says, "People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people." I love that line because it couldn't be more true. You know, this is how things should work. Democracy. So a good part of this film is pointing out that the government has gradually took control, took control, and the people have lost their rights. They've lost their choice in life. Everything's been being taken from them, and they're being told you must do this, you must do that. The media's all steered towards the regime. So people are being lied to even through their TVs, etc. So that line, really sticks with me. Um, so in this film, it brings up the argument: was Guy Fawkes right? And the reason I say that is because Guy Fawkes and his story plays quite heavily into this movie. I won't say exactly how or how the film ends, for example, but all I'll say is it plays in quite heavily. For example, V wears a Guy Fawkes mask and he dresses as Guy Fawkes. So, good example right there. A lot of his ideals are very much along them lines. Um, so it's clever because it's the old Guy Fawkes kind of story brought into present day, or like I say, slightly in the future, if you like. Um, like I say, Hugo Weaving plays V, and he's really good. Yeah, I mean, you don't see his face at all. But with Hugo Weaving, if you've watched a lot of his films, you'll know that this guy, you don't need to see his face. He's very good at acting. So even though you can't see his face, you know his emotions. You can tell what he's feeling or what he's putting across because Hugo Weaving's good like that. He can do that. So the other thing with this film is the action scenes in it are brilliant. Probably some of the best action scenes I've seen. The fight scenes are really good. Um, there's one part in particular. I won't go into massive detail, but there's one part in particular where he comes into a sewer with a bunch of Creedy's men. If you watch this film, you'll understand who Creedy is. And basically, as he's fighting, the camera follows around the fight, and the way it's done, it couldn't have been done any better. It's perfect, and it's kind of slowed down as well, so you can see what he's doing as he's moving around. The camera's moving around with him. In a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of the first Matrix movie, but I'd argue it's done better in this film. The part in particular that's really good is the part where the camera sort of pans around V as he throws a knife, and you actually see it coming towards the camera, and then go, as the camera moves, it goes past it and then across towards somebody. So yeah, I mean, the effects are brilliant, you know, and just the way they've done things like that is you know, it's perfect. You couldn't have done it any better. I mean, the visuals are really good. So one of the things with this is that, like, the plot is clever. It's there are parts of the film where it slows down, but there's a lot of things to put into this film to explain the story. And although it slows down, it doesn't feel like a long film. You know, like, everything has meaning, everything is leading to something. So there's a lot of little bits that all come to the main part of the story. It all becomes clear as you go on. So if you are watching this and you do at any point start looking at your phone or whatever, just try and concentrate on the film, because it's going somewhere, and it's worth. You've got to know every little detail as it goes along for it to make any sense. So the thing with this film also is it leaves you with a message, and the message it leaves you is, do you really know what your government's actually up to? You know, because let's be honest, do any of us really know? And this film sort of plants that little seed in there. You know, do you really know what your government's up to? Bet you don't. Like, you know, so I think the testament of a good film is when it actually makes you feel something, but also you sit back after the film and you think, that was trying to tell me something. You know, if you take something like that from a film, it's a powerful film and it's done its job. So yeah, if you haven't seen V for Vendetta, have a look at it. It's worth it. It's a really good film. Like I say, it's originally taken from a comic, but it's not what you're probably thinking. It's not like like a superhero flying around with a cape and things like that. It's nothing like that. This is grounded. You know, it's not far fetched, if you like. It's set on Earth. You know, there's no aliens, there's no superpowers. You know, this is a guy that's sticking up for people's rights, if you like. It's a good film. It's, like I say, it's not like your usual comic book hero. You know, he's not firing lasers out of his eyes and things like that. No, not at all. You know, for example, like when you watch the film, one of his favourite films is the I believe it's the Scarlet Pimpernel or something like that. Anyway, he's very much into the old sort of one man standing up against an army, you know, with a sword. And there's a bit where you see him actually, as he's watching the film, he's swinging a sword around and he's attacking like a knight's armor. He's like attacking it and reenacting it. So you know, it's all sort of set in a grounded way. You know, like I say again, it's not lasers and flying and you know, all this sort of stuff. It's all stuff that a person could do. You know, so it's realistic in them terms, and like I say, it's set in a time not too far in the future from where we are now, where everything's just gone bad, and the government's got rid of the monarchy and they've took control. You know, so these are all things that could happen. Not saying they will, but they could. So I like it for that fact that it's, you know, when you watch the film, you think, like, as you're watching it, you know, this could happen, and that's what makes this such a great film. So yeah, like I say, if you're bored and you've got nothing to watch, have a look, see if you can find it. I don't know if it's on Netflix or not. I know it's on Prime, but you have to buy it. But yeah, I mean, even if you just rent it, but have a look. I mean, it's a really good film, and it's worth your attention. So yeah, so Nerdy Geezer out.